Have you always wanted to get more power in your shots? A lot of people think that it's about swinging harder. It's about muscle. It's about putting on bulk and size. One of the things I like to talk about when it comes to a bit of the power is talking about how a car operates and how that links to how a body operates in a shot. So when you drive a car, what we do is we press the accelerator with our foot to get power, and to be able to direct the car in different directions, we turn the steering wheel. Now, if we liken that to the body, basically what we look at is the lower extremities of our body create the power because they're our bigger and stronger muscles. And our upper extremities, which are our wrists, our arms, our shoulders, are there to be able to steer the ball and direct the ball. So when we're talking about generating speed, it's about understanding where speed comes from. The legs will drive out of the ground and into the upper body to be able to generate that speed. Without the lower body playing a role, it is very, very hard to generate speed. So when we think about speed generation, we talk about the kinetic chain. The sequence of body segments that we use to generate speed on any ball. So when we talk about the most or the biggest muscles that we need to look at, we talk about the legs as being that. We then look at our hips, our trunk, as our three biggest segments, legs, hips, and trunk, to generate speed into the ball first and foremost. Once those three have generated speed, we then look at the upper arm and the lower arm or the wrist. Okay, so when we think about how to generate it, the legs drive up and go into the hips. The hips then rotate and drive into the trunk. The trunk rotates and drives into the upper arm and then into the lower arm to finish off. The first step though, what I want to also, and I've left a little gap up here for a reason, is what we want to think about when we're generating speed is that the first step is using the ground to be able to push your legs out of, because the ground gives us some force and some power. So the legs drive into the ground, which then initiates all the other segments. So if we think about whether it's a serve or whether it's any kind of shot, we are loading down on a serve to drive up and around into the trunk and hips and trunk that way to then drive up into the upper arm. Now, without utilizing these major areas, it is very hard to generate speed. So if you're teaching a player around how to generate speed, this will start that starting point really, really well to be able to generate speed. The other one I want to think about, and the other one we can talk a little bit about, is momentum. When we talk about momentum, we can talk about the length of the swing that we utilize to generate speed. So two other ways to generate speed are I can generate my own, which is through these segments, or the opponent gives us speed to be able to generate something back. So I can use their ball speed against them to be able to counterpunch that back to them. So momentum is the size and length of the swing we use. If the opponent gives us no ball speed, we use this concept, our kinetic chain, to generate that speed. So we have to generate our own speed. Versus if the opponent gives us ball speed, we can deflect that, stay in a really stable position and deflect that speed back to them. So we can deflect the speed back to our opponent. So they're the two ways that speed is occurring in the match or on the ball. This is what we use when we don't have speed, and obviously using the incoming ball to generate ball speed back is another way to generate ball speed on the ball.